Interfaith dialogue and action is important because really I think in wider society there's a lot of ignorance and misinformation about faith communities. Often, I think in the media we often hear about the negative sides of faith relations, so religious conflicts and the like. And it's important that we are able to show people, well, we are coming from these backgrounds. Yes, we don't agree on everything, but we are committed to living together in harmony. You just have to say to someone, oh, I recognise that you're a Sikh, so, did you enjoy, Vaisakhi and something like that? And you can see it on their face that realising that someone from a different community knows and understands something about them, that brightens their day, and it, of course, obviously then impacts the way that they behave for the rest of the day and their interactions with others as well.
I can see that discussing something like the riots like we've been doing today, there's a lot of young people who are not religious. And if the government and other organisations focus too much on using religious groups to get across moral messages in society, those non-religious youths will turn off and say that's got nothing to do with me. So I think we're happy to get involved with faith organisations to do all the good work that's going on to improve the situation for young people in the city.
I think it's important that if we share our beliefs and our values, we could aim to be a better society and reduce conflict and be more, not tolerant, because we shouldn't have to be tolerant of each other, but more, find life more rewarding by learning from each other. People are generally compassionate. It's the fear that stops them from being compassionate because of political correctness and being unsure of what that particular group will accept or not accept. So it's the fear of asking the question. And for me, interfaith is about asking the questions and not being fearful of it. And expecting an answer. And for the other person not to feel offended, but to actually answer, because that's how you learn.
There's a lot of perception amongst the general public that during the riots, a lot of the people who were involved were young people. Now, obviously, to shake off that tag, one of the best ways to do it is by getting involved in local organisation. Your youth club, your scout club, your local pensioners club. There's so many things that you can get involved. I myself, as a young person, I do a lot of work with children and young people. So I work in nurseries, creches, after-school clubs. Currently at the moment, I'm with an organisation called Volunteer Reading Help, where basically we're going to schools helping kids read. And that's an excellent way of portraying the image of young people to say, look, we weren't all involved in riots, just there was a small percentage of us. Maybe just 30-40%, but the majority of them, the vast majority of young people, they were there with the police. They were helping catch the criminals, making cups of tea for the police, showing them where the criminals were hiding or where the next target was. And you only have to look at the facts and figures, and you look at the reports that the vast majority of young people did help with the riots, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. Even when the cleanups were announced on Twitter or on Facebook, there were a lot of young people armed themselves with brushes and spades and whatnot, and basically got to clean around the community.
Interfaith dialogue is really important, especially today in a modern world, that because the world has shrunk, Britain is no longer an island. If you look at the modern generation, they're competing for jobs against a global population. Especially, if you look at the Indian subcontinent, there's a growing trend of Indian students, highly capable Indian students coming out now, who can fulfill roles that traditionally British students could be able to. The other important element is understanding and bridging gaps that create well-rounded individuals, who have an experience of dealing with or meeting and enjoying space and time with people of a different background. The example that I always go back to is Guru Nanak. He lived in such a turmoil time where there's constant clashes and constant tension between Hindus and Muslims, but he managed to successfully bring both parties to a table and create something that's truly unique. You have the concepts of seva and the concepts of doing more than just what is required of you, going that extra distance. And I think those are principles that that we really need here in the UK.
Interfaith dialogue is important because we want to exchange, if you want, our view with the wider community in the region and the country, for them to understand that faith is a tool which is very important in today's life. We cannot exclude faith in our life, and we need to maintain the presence, its presence in our day-by-day life, for people make use on it to control themselves. When faith aspects disappear in our society, we will not have a good society.